Our next guest is the host of All In with Chris Hayes on MSNBC, and in his spare time, he writes. This is his #1 best-selling book, The Siren's Call. Please say hello to Chris Hayes. Thanks for coming out here. I know you get Mondays off, right?
Mondays off, yeah.
Isn't Monday the worst day to be off?
It kind of is, actually. I've learned that lesson. Because lots of news breaks, and then the takes start building up inside me like a volcano.
The funniest stuff seems to happen on the weekends with him.
Well, particularly when you have the Easter egg roll.
Yeah, the Easter egg roll is like, it's funny with almost any president, but then you put him in the middle of the egg roll and it becomes something entirely different.
Yes, entirely.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. And I do want to ask you about the book. First, I want to ask you, because I know you are very, are you an insider? Would you say that's are you an insider?
I don't know. You mean in politics?
Yeah, do you have sources in that?
Yeah, oh, sure, yeah. There's lots of people I talk to.
Do you ever get inadvertent texts from Pete Hegseth?
I think every journalist in the world was like, why was that not me? I mean, of all the people, for it to fall into the lap of Jeffrey Goldberg.
Everybody was jealous that he got on the...
That's a pretty good scoop to literally be deposited into your phone.
Have you ever been on the end of a professional and inadvertent text of that nature or any nature?
No, I mean, I do think that's, I think one of the things we subsequently learned is that there's like a lot of signal chatting happening.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not the best like hygiene around that. So I think that was a sort of special case. But no, I've certainly never had a scoop fall into my lap quite as neatly as that one did for Jeffrey Goldberg.
Do you think, I think it's very interesting that this time around, Trump doesn't see, the first time around, it seemed to be an extension of The Apprentice, where he was just firing, you're fired. It was his catchphrase, and he just kept up with it. Now, do you think Pete Hegseth will get fired?
It's such an interesting question, because by all rights, he should.
Right.
He never should have been confirmed. And that's not like an ideological or partisan thing to say. He just was never actually qualified for the position.
Anyway, yeah.
You've now got 4 top staffers who have left, one who wrote an op-ed for Politico saying, like, this guy has to go, the place is in chaos. I just saw news that his chief of staff is moving. So he should. But the thing that Trump learned from the first term is, if no one inside the tent ever starts criticizing, you could kind of hold together this kind of 42% together, and then everything just sort of goes away if you stick it out long enough.
That's true.
And it's a pretty profound insight. So you've got one Republican member of Congress, Don Bacon from Nebraska, who's on the record saying the guy's got to be fired. But I think they've kind of learned this very perverse lesson, which is if no one else starts coming out, if you keep everyone together, you can kind of get through anything.
Do you get the sense that Republicans, people who voted for Donald Trump, are starting to question their decision?
Yeah, I think the polling shows that. I think particularly people, I mean, the thing I think we know is if you think about sort of concentric circles of people who are the most kind of diehard MAGA folks in the center, and then as you move out, people who are just kind of like, I don't like how expensive things are. Let's try this guy.
I want to shake things up.
I want to shake things up. I think what we're seeing in the polling, and I think this is reflected in lots of conversations I've had with people that I know, that on the outer edge of that circle, the people that aren't the diehards are losing faith pretty quickly. The economy is not great. The guy has single-handedly taken an economy that was on a good trajectory and sent it spiraling. The tariffs are incredibly hard to defend. I don't think we're going to start growing like bananas and shade-grown coffee here.
I am. I'm actually growing my own bananas. I'm growing a lot of bananas in my house right now.
I think that's a good investment, though. You never know if the tariffs from one day to the next are going to stick around.
Listen, they're for personal use.
You got to be nimble.
I'm not worried about tariffs unless he decides to start tariffing my meals. But a lot of this is a result of what you write about in your book. I don't want to boil it down too much, but it's about the dangers of being distracted by social media and media the way in its current form.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key argument of the book is that attention, what we do, where we put our mind's focus from moment to moment, is the most valuable resource we have as individuals, and now the most valuable resource for corporations in public discourse. And I think that the companies that have figured that out and are constantly trying to extract our attention from us, the President of the United States, who I think has a better insight into this than almost any figure in public life, have figured out that if you can grab people's attention, sometimes even seemingly against their will, and collect it, it's very, very, very valuable commodity. And part of the weirdness of living in this age is this feeling of the attention constantly being kind of pulled from you against your will. I think people feel that way about the President of the United States. They feel that way about the phones in front of them, this sense of kind of constant interruption. Where do I actually want to focus myself? And then when all the interruptions are gone, that weird feeling of like, oh, now I'm bored.
Yeah, right.
Like, shoot, I left my phone in the car. Now I got to sit here for 2 minutes and wait online for coffee with my own thoughts.
You signed up for TikTok to research. Is that really why you signed up for TikTok?
Well, yes, I did. I didn't have TikTok before when I was writing the book. I signed up for TikTok, and I was by myself for a night. My kids and wife were away, and I just had like a little bit of a nibble of a gummy. And I was sitting there. I was sitting there with TikTok, and it really was a nibble. And what was so...
I've heard you're a gummy nibbler.
And what I found so remarkable, I'm sort of sitting there, and I realized that at a certain point, 40 minutes had gone by, and I just was looking at videos of people making sandwiches and cutting them in half, and then doing that thing where they like splay them.
I love that.
I love it. That's such good content.
I know you like carpet cleaning videos.
I like carpet cleaning
like those
videos
too. Yeah.
They're good.
You ever work with a power washer?
I've never. Well, yes, I had. That's a satisfying undertaking.
Oh, it's the best.
You have a power washer?
2 of them. Yeah. And you know what? There's a warning on the power washer. It says, do not operate without shoes because you could lose a toe. I'll go right out their shoes. I don't care.
That'd be a tough one to explain.
I like that. Sorry, I'm getting off. I'm like TikTok, really. This is what TikTok
That's
is
what it does. So you like power washers? We'll show you 10 power washer videos.
Thing to the next thing, and the next thing you know, you're living in a bunker, and you've got powdered foods, and you're worshiping Alex Jones.
Well, that's the thing about it is that the technology is sophisticated enough that if it can intuit things about your own predilections that maybe you don't even realize yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And so part of what's so strange is we've got this thing that's like our control of our attention. Like right now when you and I are talking, we're focused on each other, right? But then there's also this faculty we have for attention where if someone were to rush in the door right now or a loud noise, right, we all put our attention to it before we get to say anything voluntarily. And it's that weakness, like the weakness in our biophysical makeup for sugar and sweets and salt and fats. It's that weakness that we're constantly being used to prey upon our own dominion over our own minds.
So what you're saying is we're doomed.
Well,
because
I'm not.
This is never going to change.
I'm not. And part of the reason I think we're not doomed, and I think the food analogy is useful, you know, when you look at this country's culinary culture, right, and processed foods, and it sort of hits this like dead end in the 70s and 80s, you know, like the Jell-O salads and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is people start rebelling against it in all kinds of ways. Like weird hippies are starting their whole grains markets and the farmers markets, and that actually becomes a just totally alternate vision of what kind of food we want to consume and put in our bodies, right? And I think there's something happening now with our attention. We're in this kind of dead end and everyone feels it. People are like, I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. I don't like that car sickness of the soul I get when I'm on my phone too long. We should do something different. And I think that impulse to do something different is going to find a bunch of different expressions in people finding ways out of this current dead end.
Whittling, for instance.
Whittling.
Could
or
be a
power
fun
washing.
activity. Or power washing.
But not barefoot, I would say.
Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that. Well, it's great to have you here. Thank you for being here. And this is the book. It's called The Siren's Call. It's written by Chris Hayes. You can watch on MSNBC. Thank you, Chris. We'll be right back with Tree Oak Revival. Guillermo, do you know how many subscribers we have on YouTube now?
20 million.
That's right. Yeah, that's why we're wearing these glasses. Thanks for being a subscriber. If you're not, help us get to 20,000,001.